This video is over topic 36, practice question. So topic 36 just introduces the various measurement units that we'll be working with, looking at the metric system, the US system, area and volume, time, and other rates. But the practice question here is looking at appropriate units for a specific context. So this is working at having a sense of what size these different units are, so what they would be used to measure. Unlike a previous question where you were asked what could be used to measure this, now you're looking at what would be used, so which actual level of unit or size of unit would be used. So the weight of an adult human would be, so these are kind of categorized like these are lengths. Here in the first row, length, distance, that could be height, width, anything like that. Then the next row is weights or masses. Weight, mass. And then we have the square, miles, meters, millimeters, that would be area. And then the gallons, milliliters, cubic yards would be volume. So the weight of an adult human is going to be one of these weights: milligrams, tons, ounces, pounds, and an adult human would be pounds. In metric, it would be kilograms, would be the usual weight used for that. Then the height of an elephant, so looking at these heights: millimeters too small, kilometers too big, inches probably too small, meters would be, you could say inches. I mean, if you had feet, it could be feet, but it would be several hundreds of inches versus several meters. All right, the weight of a t-shirt, again, looking in the weights, a t-shirt would be relatively small, definitely not tons, probably not as small as milligrams. Milligrams would measure a very small amount, so ounces would probably be the most appropriate for that. And these are all somewhat subjective, but within the options given here, kind of looking at the best choice. The size of a freckle, think of this is a two-dimensional shape, so an area, but a very small area, square millimeters for that probably. Certainly not square meters or square miles, but you could argue you might measure in just millimeters rather than think of just the, how far across is it versus the area of it. All right, the amount of coffee served before noon at the nearest Starbucks, that would be a volume, and it would be measured in gallons. Then the distance between two cities, so a distance, we would think miles most likely, but without miles, kilometers is the metric equivalent of that. Then the average lot size in Warsaw, Indiana, that would be an area. A single lot size probably wouldn't go square miles, so that would be more likely square meters. The width of the word of in this sentence, fairly small. Length or distance there, definitely like well under an inch, so we could go down to millimeters for measuring a smaller size there. Then the amount of dirt carried in a dump truck, depending if you want to measure it by weight, would be in tons. If you go by the amount, the volume, cubic yards is commonly used for that sort of thing. Then the length of a garter snake, we've already used the others, we're down to inches, but meters would be probably a meter would be longer than the length of the snake. A millimeter would be much shorter, so inches would be appropriate there. And then the weight of a snowflake, very, very small amount of weight. That would be milligrams. used to measure very small or precise amounts, and the size of the state of Indiana, square miles. And so our milliliters didn't get used at all. That would be measuring a fairly small volume of something.